Hello, glad to see you on my channel. I really value it. And today I want to share with you a wonderful story. It's a dramatic story that will come as a total shock to everybody. It is a really amazing story. So enjoy watching it. Waking up at noon after a fun-filled prom, Wanda stretched sweetly and smiled in anticipation of something very good. Here were 10 school years behind her. Adulthood begins with all its joys and sorrows. But when you are 17, you think about the latter less than anything else in the world. After all, life, you might say, begins with a clean slate, and the fact that there will be a lot of blots on it, only to learn. Wanda was actively preparing to enter the university, and in between cramming indulged in rainbow dream. She would have new friends and, of course, a cool guy in a cool car. When she imagined her boyfriend bringing her home to her parents, she squeezed her eyes shut with delight. It even seemed to Wanda that all this was true. But when her mother's voice brought her back from heaven to earth, "Wanda, are you going to eat?" Veronica asked, looking into the room. "I made borscht." Hearing about borscht, the girl swallowed saliva and looked at the clock. 3 o'clock. Wow. A couple of rusks and a cup of coffee was all she had eaten all day. In 4 days, Wanda was going to have an oral exam in math, and the girl was so absorbed in preparing for it that she often forgot to eat. But if Wanda was reminded of it, she would not refuse. Anorexia was definitely not in the plans of the cheerful applicant. The university was located in the regional center, 70 kilometers from the township, where Wanda lived with her parents and younger brother, Evan. "And not afraid to go to a foreign city?" asked Aunt Aurora, who was the sister of her mother. "Nope, not a bit," carelessly answered the girl. "Why should I be afraid? I'm not the only one, and I'm not going to the end of the world. And besides, I'm going to a happy life." "A happy life," the aunt grinned bitterly. At 17, we all thought we were going to be happy. Aunt Aurora had been married twice, and neither marriage had been a happy one. Whether the relative chose the wrong companions, or whether the matter was in the far from simple character of the aunt, but the fact remained. Now Aurora was in an active search, but luck had not smiled on her yet. But what had Wanda to do with it? So the niece answered, "And I, Aunt Aurora, do not think. I know that I will have everything cool. Well, God willing." "When are you going?" "The day after tomorrow. The next day for counseling, and then an oral exam in math." "Well, and on your way. God forbid that everything goes well for you," the aunt said with a wistful smile and, sighing, added, "Not like mine." "You can be sure of that," Wanda thought. But of course she didn't say it out loud. Having easily run up to the 3rd floor to the physics and mathematics department, the girl began to look at the other applicants with interest. Suddenly, Wanda was waved by a pretty, chubby blonde. The girl looked around confusedly, deciding that she was mistaken. You, the blonde smiled. "It's just that I liked you, and I thought we could be friends. What do you think? Oh, is it okay that I'm on a first-name basis?" "It's just that these use..." The girl made such a funny grimace that Wanda couldn't help but smile. "Nothing. It's okay," she smiled back. Catherine, the new acquaintance, introduced herself. "Wanda, nice to meet you." "Likewise. You're from out of town?" "Yes, from Brighton." "What will it be?" Catherine asked, amusingly tilting her head to the side. "It will be a township." "Well, I'm from Boulder. It's on the other side of town, not urban, but it's very pretty." "I see," Wanda nodded. She wanted to add something, but then she was invited to the dean's office. When she came out, Catherine asked, "You're not in a hurry to go anywhere?" "No, why?" "I just wanted to suggest a walk around the city." "How would you like that?" "I'm all for it." The new friend left for the dean's office, and Wanda was suddenly very thirsty. She remembered they sold sodas in the lobby on the 1st floor. "I'll make it," thought the girl, and went to the 1st floor. Suddenly, a tall and shouldering young man ran out of the rector's office. Facing Wanda literally nose to nose, he almost knocked the girl off her feet. Wanda could barely stay on her feet, which could not be said about her purse. The lady's accessory fell to the floor with a thud, and all the contents rolled on the floor. "Are you blind?" the girl exclaimed indignantly. "Guilty," answered the guy in a velvety voice, which suddenly gave Wanda goosebumps. And when their gazes met, the girl realized she was lost. She had never seen such beautiful golden brown eyes in her life. The guy wore a shoulder-length bob, and his hair looked so well-groomed that any other girl would be jealous. Wanda realized from his sly, slightly mocking gaze and reckless smile that he was what they called a bad boy. The young man helped her gather the contents of her purse and suddenly said, "Harvey." "Huh?" Wanda asked absent-mindedly and suddenly realized that she had never taken her eyes off those wonderful eyes. "Did you say something?" "Well, Barry God," laughed the handsome man. I mean, it's a pleasure," she replied, embarrassed, noting that the day had been generous with new acquaintances. "It's nice to meet you too. But perhaps I will be even more pleasant if the beautiful stranger will tell me her name." "Oh, yes, sorry. I didn't introduce myself. I'm Wanda." She smiled dazzlingly. Wanda, Harvey stretched out and with a meaningful wink added, "We'll see each other again." The girl looked at the cellar of drinks, and only then she remembered why she had come down to the first floor, except that she didn't feel like drinking. Wanda also remembered about Catherine and hurried towards the entrance to the third floor. When she got up, the blonde stood leaning on the railing. "And I thought you changed your mind about being my friend and ran away," grinned Catherine. "No. What are you?" Wanda's voice seemed new friend strange, and she inquired, "Something happened?" "No." Wanda shrugged her shoulders. "Well, let's go to the dorm. I haven't even checked in yet. As soon as I arrived, I came straight here. From ship to ball." "Something like that?" Ekaterina nodded with a smile, and the girls laughed merrily. The applicants went to the dormitory, and the first thing they did was to talk to the commandant, to put them in the same room for the exams. "For God's sake," smiled a pleasant woman in her 50s whose name was Naomi. Having finished with the check-in, Wanda and Catherine went on a tour of the city. They went around all the stores and boutiques where, to the displeasure of the saleswoman, tried on many outfits but never bought anything. Tired, the girls went to the first cafe and, ordering a salad, a hot sandwich, and a glass of juice, began to chat. They told each other about their childhood, school years, first crushes, and everything else. "Wanda, there is a bold proposal," said Catherine. "And what is it?" With curiosity, she asked. "Let's have a beer. For acquaintance, eh?" "Well, I do not know," stretched Wanda. "Tomorrow is the exam. We should study for it. Please. Haven't you heard anything about not breathing before you die?" "Yes, I have, but—" "Oh, come on. We live once. That's our way." "Wanda, you are strange," said her friend an hour later. When the girls were drinking delicious draft beer and nibbling on red fish, Wanda only shrugged her shoulders, and Catherine hastened to add, "No, not weird at all, but as soon as you came back from the first floor, so not yourself. I, of course, still do not know you well, but something tells me—" "Oh, Katya, I think I'm in love," she confessed. "Can you imagine, for the first time in my life?" "So, it's wonderful," exclaimed Catherine. "I hope in a good guy." "I also hope so," with a sigh, replied Wanda, and told about their meeting. "Well, you give." "I was in the dean's office for 15 minutes, and you have already managed to meet and fall in love. You're a real fun person to be with. You can't get bored," Wanda grinned. "I've been staring at Harvey like I've never seen a guy before. I wouldn't be surprised if he thought I was a clinical idiot. Come on. If he paid attention to you, then most likely he did not decide anything like that," reassured her Catherine. "All of us sometimes think that in the eyes of other people we look stupid, and in fact it is not so." But for Wanda it was a weak consolation. "Yeah," she nodded sadly. "You should have seen him. Handsome, stylish, expensively dressed. That Harvey guy must have half the town like me. Well then, I don't know what there is to worry about. Anyway, if you're meant to meet him, you'll meet him. assuming he goes to this university. What if we don't get in at all? Wanda, of course, realized that it was possible, but she didn't want to think about it. No, she'd die for it, but she'd get in. And so it was time to call it a night. Let's have a good one. It's a good time. And I was getting sleepy. Anything can happen, Wanda said. And to prevent this from happening, let's go to sleep. Catherine suddenly felt that also quite tired. Wishing each other good night, the girls instantly fell asleep. So was born a female friendship, which was destined to last for many years. First exam the friends passed with a B. The beginning is made. Satisfied, said Catherine, when the friends learned the results. Good, of course, not excellent, but also nothing. Yes, to be honest, I did not count on more. Why? Naively asked Wanda. Well, you mother, you're crazy, sniggered her friend. I, of course, in no way question the professionalism of our village teachers. But we are, let's say, up to the graduates of the gymnasium. They have a modern approach to teaching and everything. The next exam was an essay. Wanda wrote 4-5 and Catherine wrote 3-4, which, however, did not upset the applicant. Literacy, alas, always lame. She waved her hands. With the content of everything is not so sad. But you made me. But the written exam and algebra both passed with us. So maybe this case is worth celebrating. Catherine smiled slyly. We'll celebrate, nodded Wanda. As soon as we get in, we'll celebrate. Ooh, what a strict. Yes, she waved her hands. I am. Enrollment was expected the day after the written exam. I'll go crazy, complained Catherine. You are fine, but I triple for the essay can spoil. Come on, objected Wanda. The competition is not so big, and gymnasium students, judging by the results of essays, were not particularly literate. Remember, some of them even got D's. This was really encouraging, but Catherine was still uneasy. And yet both of them got in. Seeing their names on the list of enrolled in the university, the girls could not believe their eyes, or rather, they were afraid to believe it. What if it was a dream? Stylish, handsome man with a bob haircut Wanda no longer met. It's a pity, the girl thought. But I guess I'll have to put him out of my mind. Her friend's voice made Wanda leave the dream world. So, are we going to celebrate this event now? Don't even doubt it, answered Wanda, trying to seem cheerful. And Catherine guessed what was the matter. Are you because of that guy so sad? She asked. No need. Start studying. There will be new beaux, more interesting. Yes, of course, muttered Wanda. The enrollment was celebrated on the barrio. The friends were joined by other lucky and lucky girls, and not only future mathematicians, but also biologists, philologists, and geographers. Everyone got to know each other. Student life was off to a really great start, and in the future it promised to be even more interesting. But only, calm down, Wanda said mentally, falling asleep after the first student party. You said yourself that he has people like you half a city. So forget it and move on. There are so many cute guys out there. Maybe in time someone will take a fancy to you. What are you doing? Veronica asked, perplexed. Looking at you, one might think that I'm leaving for good in some wilderness, Wanda explained with a smile. It's not the middle of nowhere, but it's a foreign town, Mother said. Well, I wouldn't say that. Catherine and I have studied this town from top to bottom, so it had become almost my own. The bus pulled up, and the girl took her seat, hugging and kissing each person in turn. The relatives waved to Wanda until the bus taking her away was out of sight. On September 1st, when the girls went to school, they saw a bright scarlet sports car, seemingly a race car parked by the porch. Wow, what kind of cars come here? Wanda whistled. Yes, agreed her friend. You can't forbid to live beautifully. I wonder who is the lucky owner of this beauty? Soon they found out who. Harvey and Barry had been friends since first grade. They met at the children's sports school and almost immediately became friends. Fans of the great poet's work looking at them would probably remember the lines from the imperishable Eugene Onegin. They came together, water and stone, poetry and prose, ice and flame. Those who were not avid Pushkinists simply wondered how two completely different people could become friends. The guys themselves, either jokingly or seriously, said that opposites come together or complement each other. Harvey loved discos, nightclubs, and in general was ready to party day and night. Barry, on the other hand, thought it was all good in moderation. Harvey, being the son of wealthy parents, did not know the value of money and was sure he should only want and everything will be, after all the desires of the son of the rector and a successful beautician from a private clinic, executed at the snap of his fingers. Barry's father worked as an electrician, mother dispatcher in the Ministry of Emergency Situations. Barry's face, too, was a godsend. He had beautiful blue eyes, slightly full lips, and a touching blush on his cheeks. A short hedgehog of light, blonde hair gave the guy a brutal look, handsome. In addition, Barry was intelligent and judicious. But then, what do girls want? What is it about Harvey that I don't have? He thought agonizingly, but he couldn't think of anything. And when Victoria, Barry's oldest sister, explained to him what was going on, he was very surprised. "You're just, shall we say, too nice," Victoria explained. "Who act like, pardon the pun, scold, make you cry or even raise your hand. That's masochism," grinned Barry. "Well, it's partly so. There is a certain amount of masochism in love. What am I supposed to do? Become something I'm not and don't aspire to be? Well, why should you?" My sister shrugged her shoulders. "First of all, relationships with guys like Nikitka are rarely stable. The boy burned out and voila, relationship ends." Barry remembered that the friend and indeed dumped quite a few girls. Moreover, all the girls he knew, even knowing about it, were sticking to Harvey like flies on honey. So it seemed there was truth in his sister's words about masochism. "And secondly?" Barry asked. "Secondly, brother, liking a guy like that goes with youth and inexperience. The love of bad guys is replaced by dreams of being taken care of, not treated like a toy to be thrown away when you get tired of them. And here you are, all white and fluffy." His brother said thoughtfully, frowning. "Oh, God." Victoria laughed. "No, of course not." "No, not really," Barry answered after a moment's thought. "They were all kind of cocky." Nodded the girl. "And all of them probably thought, I'm going to do things differently. No one could get the irresistible Harvey, but I can. I'm special." "Well, I don't know what they were thinking," laughed the boy, "but from the look of them, they were." "You see," exclaimed Victoria, "Harvey, he's a playboy, and the girls conform to him. To them, conquest is like a contest. There's no love in it because they're all about the rapping. There's gonna be a party on your street. I assure you, you will definitely wait for a girl who likes calm, adequate, and predictable guys." "Your words would be in God's ears," sighed my brother, "and they will definitely reach him. Not everyone is ready to suffer from the love of a narcissistic guy. I'll tell you, I used to like Harvey too." "Oh, come on. What changed?" "I just realized that love through suffering is not love. And then I met Mickey. And he suits me in every way. Yeah, Mickey's a great guy." "I think so too." Victoria smiled. "Well, my advice to you is to look for a serious girl. You won't meet her in a club or a bar, but there are plenty of other places in the city." This conversation took place when Harvey and Barry were in 10th grade. A little later, Barry, heeding his sister's advice, went to the library and, oh boy, did he meet Olia, a pretty shy girl with a luxurious dark red hair and a scattering of freckles. Nancy lived in a nearby neighborhood, but was distance a barrier to love. She turned out to be a simple, kind, and open-minded girl, and Barry was over the moon. Sis was right, he thought. There really are girls in the world who have not forgotten to appreciate simple guys. So, Barry, are you with me? Harvey asked when the boys had showered after practice and gone outside. Nah. Barry shook his head. I'm going to the flower shop first and then to the cafe. You're going on a date, aren't you? Well, yes, Barry smiled disarmingly. Wow, that's great. Who is she? Come on. The most beautiful girl in the world, he replied immediately. Oh man, you've got a crush on her. Harvey shook his head ironically. Her name is Nancy. And where did you meet her? In the library. Oh boy. That's unexpected. What was so unexpected about it? Barry asked. I just didn't think it was possible to meet a girl in a library, Harvey admitted. Isn't she a student by any chance? Why would she be? For your information, all school children who cannot go to the internet and find the material they need go to the library. This was the late 90s, when computers were almost a luxury item. Well, I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to offend anyone, the friend said. Would you introduce me? Barry thought for a moment. So far, all the girls had preferred Harvey, and he feared it might not happen again. But on the other hand, Nancy was different from these girls. And then, you can't hide your sweetheart from your best friend all the time. It's a sign of insecurity, by the way. Of course, I'll introduce her, Barry said with a smile, after which the boys shook hands and went their separate ways. The viewing took place a few days later. How do you like my Nancy? Barry asked his friend. She's all right, she's pretty, he nodded. When he asked Nancy the same question, she said Harvey wasn't her type. Barry breathed a sigh of relief, but as it turned out, for nothing. A couple weeks later, Nancy didn't answer the phone. Barry called 4 more times, but each time her mother answered and said Nancy wasn't home. When Barry finally managed to talk to Nancy, the girls said they were breaking up. Did I do something to offend you? Asked the stunned boy. No, Nancy calmed him down. It's just that me and Harvey decided that... Anyway, we're dating. I'm sorry. Barry hung up without even dignifying the girl with an answer. What's there to talk about? The guy felt so bad that the same day he drank himself into oblivion for the first time in the company of Kolka, a student who lived 1 floor below. Why is she doing this to me? Barry asked, looking at his neighbor with cloudy eyes. If the answer to that question were known, people wouldn't break up, he said philosophically. And it's not just the girl, it's all of you. Yeah, I guess so, Barry nodded, so sharply that he almost got his face in the goulash. You're ready to go, he said. Come on, I'll take you home. Barry woke up at 7:30, and the first thing he felt was an overwhelming thirst. Barry got up reluctantly and went into the kitchen. He heard his mother's voice and shuddered in surprise. Mom, why are you sitting in the dark? He asked, but his mother only grinned. You'd better tell me, what was the occasion of last night's slicing? Barry wanted to say something, but a bout of nausea made it unnecessary. He clamped his hand over his mouth and ran to the bathroom. When Barry returned to the kitchen, there was a carafe of cucumber brine on the table. Dear, have a drink, drunkard, said his mother. So, what happened? Why should something happen? He shrugged his shoulders. I don't know you, Naomi shook her head. Okay, if you don't want to, don't tell me. And you don't have to go to school. Drink more water and make sure you eat. Okay, I have to get ready for my shift. My dad was away on a business trip, so he didn't know anything. And even if he did, he wouldn't scold his son. He and Victoria were lucky to have ancestors. By the way, the sister who came back from the institute was not surprised at what had happened. Harvey can't be changed, Victoria said. He is used to everyone's attention. That's why he acted so ugly. But then there's that girl. I don't know how it happened. But if she loved you, she wouldn't trade you for your friend, would she? A bad thought crept in, and Victoria, as if hearing her brother's thoughts, involuntarily answered his question. It's all clear with Harvey. The main thing for him is to show his superiority to anyone. Well, that's the way Harvey was born. He has a strong sense of competition, and there's nothing you can do about it. So it's either accept Harvey for who he is or cut him off. Come on. Barry wanted to say something, but the phone rang. I'll get it, Victoria said. What you can't take away from her is her ability to put things in their proper place. Barry thought of his sister gratefully. There's a reason she went to psychology school. Let me see, he heard Vicky's voice. It's Harvey, she said, entering his brother's room. Will you talk to him? Despite the fact that his sister had explained the psychology of his friend on her fingers, Barry didn't want to talk to him. Or rather, he wasn't ready. He shook his head negatively. Barry, are you really offended? Harvey exclaimed at recess. When Barry entered the classroom, he nodded discreetly and sat down in his seat next to his friend. Frankly speaking, Barry started to think about moving to another seat, but in the end he decided that it was too much. There was no point in exposing their relationship for the whole class to see. If they found out what was going on, they'd laugh. No matter what Victoria said, he had feelings too, a sense of dignity. So don't let Harvey think he can get away with it. That's why Barry's been very restrained. Well, what do you think? He asked. Barry, don't worry about it. Well, they are not worth it. If she loved me, she'd never go back to me. Consider that I helped you to check the girl. Remembering that Victoria had said the same thing, Barry smiled involuntarily. Still, he had something to say. Harvey, I would understand you if you were in love. But you, let's be honest, you just wanted to show off your cool. Like, I'm so awesome, no girl could resist. Barry was surprised to see his friend lower his eyes. So what? He's gonna say whatever he's gonna say. I'm sorry, Barry continued to be blunt, but who else is going to tell you the truth but your best friend? Unless, of course, that's what it is. Well, Barry, said Harvey eagerly. Well, I'm sorry I was a fool. Peace. He held out his hand to Barry, and after a moment's thought he shook it. Peace, he confirmed after a firm, manly handshake. But, Harvey, for the future, you don't interfere in my relations with the girls. There's no need for a checkup. I'll figure it out on my own. Okay, if you say so, Harvey said in a cheerful voice, visibly cheerful. Friends, reconciled, and nothing like that ever happened again. Barry and Harvey went to cafes, got acquainted with girls, and by the way, with a serious relationship, did not develop neither of them. They didn't care. What are their years? The boys graduated from high school. Harvey went to law school, but Barry wasn't so lucky. He went to geography after high school, but it was a bust. Harvey offered to talk to his father, but his friend flatly refused. And then Barry got drafted. So you'll go stomping boots, his friend said thoughtfully. So I'll go, he nodded. 2 years flew by faster than it seemed. The friends corresponded and told each other how they lived. Before they knew it, Harvey was picking his friend up from the train on a bright August morning in a brand new race car of racy red. Wow, exclaimed Barry, stroking the hull of his friend's iron horse. It's a beast, said Barry proudly. I've been racing for a while now. You didn't write me anything about it, he said, surprised. So I say recently, explained Harvey, and opening the door, invited. Here you go. I'll take you for a ride. You've gotten big. A real man. You're a man too, grinned the brave soldier. In my heart, I am still the same young, carefree boy. How are you? Many admirers? Breathtakers, Harvey repeated with a sigh. I met one 2 weeks ago, but I don't know how to say it. Well, you can say it like you mean it, said Barry. I don't recognize you. Let me guess. Are you in love? Sort of, yeah. But, you know, this girl and I have only seen each other once. Whoa. And then what happened? She refused to go on a date. My friend chuckled. You're losing your touch, buddy. That's the thing. I didn't even ask her out. You idiot! Harvey slapped his forehead, and Barry laughed heartily. You're really screwed if you didn't even ask her out. You're laughing, but I don't even know where to find her, said Harvey. The only thing I know about this girl is that her name is Wanda. That's funny, isn't it? Yes, it is, agreed Barry cheerfully. But how did it happen? How? I was going to the campground that day, and I went to see my father, and he promised to give me some money. I was running out of time, and I ran like a madman and almost knocked the girl down. I apologized, helped to collect the contents of my purse. The family was not poor, but to get at adulthood an expensive foreign car. And on the 20th anniversary of the studio apartment, Barry could only dream. However, the guy was not upset by this at all. He was ready to work as long as necessary. The main thing to provide himself and in the future and his family a decent standard of living. And finally, relations with the fair sex. If Harvey was a kind of charming scoundrel, then Barry could be characterized as a good, reliable, kind guy with whom a woman at ease. But apparently, calmness interested beautiful ladies almost not in the first place. Since the 8th grade, when it was time for the first kisses in the porches, parties in the absence of parents and other very important moments for teenagers, it became clear that Harvey is more successful with girls than his friend. No, Barry was cute too. And even very cute. The guys were active in sports, and to look at their tall, muscular figures was a pleasure for women's eyes. The next day, the girls exchanged phone numbers and went home. At home, Wanda was waiting for weeding potatoes and other vegetables, picking currants, raspberries, figs, and the first cucumbers, which were to be rolled together with her mother. There was enough work to do, so there was no time to think about the brown-eyed boy. August flew by unnoticed, and on the 29th the parents, brother and Aunt Aurora, saw off the newly minted student on the intercity bus. Her mother and aunt cried. Her father and Evan were unusually serious. From the outside, it might have seemed that Wanda was being escorted on some long trip from which she might not return. The girl suddenly felt funny, and she giggled. Yeah, well, Barry shook his head. What can I say? It's a long school year. Maybe you'll see each other again. And if you don't, Wanda was probably a college student. Anyway, I've never seen her at school before, but she might not have gotten in. Then I have no choice but to say goodbye to my dream of a big, bright love. There is one idea, though, but I don't have much hope. And what is that idea? My friend asked. I want to ask my father to run all the applicants named Wanda. Well, then all is not lost. Said Harvey skeptically. The university has 8 faculties, a couple thousand applicants, and who knows how many of them are Wandas? Well, how can I put it? Barry disagreed. Wanda's a rarer name, so there's a chance of something. I take it you don't have any other ideas anyway. No, Harvey confirmed dejectedly. Well, there you go. And in love and war, as you know, all means are good. As long as my father thinks so, he said sarcastically. Would he agree to such nonsense? He has other things to do. Well, I don't think he'll take it head on. That's right, too. As they talked, the boys didn't realize they were in front of Barry's house. 6 o'clock, Harvey, and be there at the drop of a hat, said Barry in a jokingly commanding tone. Mom and Victoria are setting the table. So we're waiting? No problem. In honor of Knowledge Day, the students of the university had only 2 classes, and at 7:00 p.m. the freshmen were to be initiated. What are you going to wear? Asked Catherine. Not yet decided, replied Wanda, but Christy said that the simpler the better. Jeans, t-shirt, turtleneck in general. Something democratic. Christy, a second-year student of the same faculty, lived in the room across from her friends. Besides Wanda and Catherine, Veronica, a girl from the parallel group, lived in the room. She had already left for the dormitory, and the friends decided to sit in the student cafe for a while and discuss what to wear. The task is clear, said Catherine, but I would like to wear a skirt. Well, what's the problem? Raised eyebrows Wanda. Strict dress code with face control in addition to the kind of no. Then I'll wear a skirt, said her friend, with stocking boots. Lovely. The friends were engrossed in their lady talk and didn't even notice that they were being watched. And when they left the cafe, the watcher hurried after them. When the girls left the building, the bright red sports car was still parked by the porch. Still, I wonder who drives such a car, Catherine thought aloud. For a teacher, it is somehow undignified. For a student, too expensive. So maybe it's some young teacher who likes extreme sports, Wanda suggested cheerfully. Or the rector's mistress, jumped her friend. Extreme. That's right. Wanda interrupted her friend's fantasies with an enchanting male voice, which she would have recognized from 1,000. The girl turned around and couldn't believe her eyes. Harvey was standing in front of her. Hi, he said with a smile, playing with his car keys. It had been a little over a month since that meeting in the hall of the university, but Harvey remembered every feature of the face of the beautiful girl, with long blonde hair combed in a slanted parting. He had immediately recognized Wanda as a girl, unsophisticated in love affairs. Although Harvey preferred a different kind of girl, he could not forget her and decided to get to know her better. If, of course, they are destined to meet. Later, Harvey scolded himself. An unfortunate coincidence of circumstances and even innocent Elizabeth, with whom that day was going to the campground. Although, whoever, but she had nothing to do with it. Moreover, if he and Elizabeth had not gone to the campground, Harvey would not have been there, and did not meet Wanda. But maybe it would be for the best, because then Harvey wouldn't have had to suffer for a month. So it was Elizabeth's fault after all, he thought, and immediately berated himself. Idiot, what has Elizabeth got to do with it? The vacation at the campground was not a success. Harvey's mood left much to be desired, and he began to take out his anger on his friend. Elizabeth, unable to withstand such a pig attitude, left the same day, and Harvey thought of nothing better than to get drunk in a bar. In the morning he felt shamed, and he called Elizabeth and apologized. Apology accepted. The girl said coldly, "No, I mean yes. Come back here." "Harvey, you are inimitable," laughed Elizabeth. "You're acting like a spoiled little boy. You want a new toy. There it is, all yours. And as soon as you get tired of it, you can throw it away." "Don't talk nonsense," Harvey replied, rubbing his temples. "I didn't throw you away. You left on your own." "No, you didn't," she agreed. "But you forced me to, and that's pretty much the same thing." "Exactly, practically," the guy said with a grin. "Fuck you." Elizabeth got angry and hung up. Harvey only shrugged his shoulders and muttered, "What a satsa," and went back to sleep. It was only 8 o'clock in the morning, and he was on vacation. There was no shortage of pretty girls, and Harvey had a wonderful time. He had forgotten all about Elizabeth, as well as that pretty stranger named Wanda. The latter was beginning to seem like a mirage. No, we want something more tangible. The week flew by like a day, and at home Harvey had a not very pleasant conversation. Elizabeth called in tears. Her mother said, "What's the matter?" "Nothing much," he waved his hand. "Nothing special?" Anna asked incredulously. Elizabeth was hysterical, and you say it was nothing? "It was," confirmed the son. "Elizabeth can throw a tantrum over a broken fingernail. So now I have to bow down to her for every little thing." "Son, but relationships are work," Anna said patiently. My father and I also, not always everything was not smooth, but after all, between people should be a dialogue. "There has to be," Harvey nodded. "Dialogue without third parties. I hope I'm making myself clear." "I think so too. Well, I'm going to bed now. Tired." "What about Elizabeth?" Mother asked in confusion. "I can't. I didn't promise her anything, so you can absolve yourself of any responsibility." "That's it, Mother. I'm really very tired." After leaving Elizabeth, Harvey went on a wild goose chase. A week later, his friend Barry returned from the army. His arrival came at the right time. Vacation was coming to an end, and it was God's command to have a good time before the start of the school year. Barry looked better, more mature, and now the female sex looked at him with more interest. And even an expensive race car and Harvey's cell phone, which at that time not everyone could afford, did not play any role. "You, Barry, are an alpha male," Harvey said enviously. "The chicks are all over you." "It's no big deal," Barry said. "It's not serious." "So what? You want a serious relationship, don't you? It doesn't happen right away. Look at 1, 2nd, 5th, 10th, and in the meantime, relax and enjoy yourself." "Maybe you're right," Barry said thoughtfully. "And really, why should we fill our heads with pussyfooting and all sorts of I love? I cannot. Go while you're young. Take what's her name, Olya. She looked like such a girl, but in reality, what did she turn out to be?" But the problem was, Barry couldn't do that. He wasn't a monk, of course, but you can't cheat man's nature. Too bad the pleasure was fleeting, and when it was gone, there was nothing left but a feeling of nastiness. Of course, Barry realized that such relationships at his age were normal, but he couldn't help it. Masculine and brutal on the outside, but tender and romantic on the inside, he still dreamed of a girl he would love with all his soul. Soon such a girl met, but it was not so simple. Women have always fallen in love with scoundrels. That's the way it was. That's the way it was. That's the way it is. And that's the way it will always be. In any case, as long as there are these same scoundrels and girls who want the extreme in relationships, that the extreme smells of addiction, they begin to realize only when their eyes fly off the rose-colored glasses, and that can happen in a month or years. Wanda never imagined that she would join the ranks of such addicts. It all started out so beautifully. Then, on September 1st, when they met Harvey at the university entrance, they agreed to go to the initiation ceremony together. "I'll meet you in the hall," the boy smiled broadly, like then. "Remember?" "Well, of course I remember," Wanda smiled back. "You almost knocked me down." "I did," Harvey nodded. "And I'm ready to make amends." "I wonder how." "Well, for starters, I'll give you a ride in the car." "See that red swallow?" Remembering what assumptions she and Catherine had made, the girl giggled. "Did I say something funny?" Harvey asked. "No, I was just talking about my own girl stuff." "I see. So how about a ride around town? We won't be long." "Well, I don't know," Wanda said hesitantly. "I'm not alone, you see." "We'll take a friend too," he said cheerfully. "What's the problem?" "Nothing," agreed the girl and looked at Catherine, but she shook her head negatively. "I'll pass," said the friend. "The third is superfluous. You go." "Well, Wanda, shall we go for a ride?" "Let's go for a ride," she decided. "Well, I went to the dorm," said Catherine, and Harvey and Wanda went to the car. "Do you live in the dormitory?" he asked. "In the dormitory," nodded the girl. "And where are you from, if it's no secret?" "I'm from Brighton, a township, and Catherine from Boulder." "What names?" Harvey smiled. "I thought you came from the same village." "Why?" Wanda wondered. "It's a classic," he explained with a shrug. "Well, like in the movies. Like two village girls come to conquer the city with all the consequences." "What kind of consequences?" She laughed sonorously. "That's just a figure of speech." "I see. I didn't think a guy like you watched movies about country girls who come to conquer the city." "That's right, I didn't. But when those movies first came out, I did. My mom used to watch them, and so did I." They were silent for a while, and then Wanda, plucking up courage, asked, "And what faculty are you studying at?" "At law school. 3rd year." "Oh, you're a big boy," Wanda said. "You bet." Harvey was easy and fun to be with. The girl knew well that the law school was one of the most prestigious, and this guy, apparently, was the son of wealthy parents. However, Wanda did not see any snobbery inherent in the majors. The young people drove up to a flower stand, and Harvey bought her beloved a bouquet of white roses. Each flower was lovingly wrapped with a thin golden braid. "Thank you," said Wanda with an enthusiastic and somewhat direct smile. "Very beautiful bouquet. The decoration is gorgeous." The girl wanted to add that no one had ever given her flowers, but she bit her tongue. Why should Harvey know about it? Let him think that I have a lot of admirers who are flooding me with bouquets, she thought. I tried. "Listen, Wanda, how would you feel about something like a celebratory lunch in a cozy cafe?" "I don't mind," replied the girl, thinking. "It's a good thing I have money with me. Who knows how it is accepted among young people here? After all, I'm not his girlfriend, and if you feed everyone, no amount of money would be enough." Harvey ordered a hot dish, a salad, a cup of latte, and dessert. "For the girl," he added, winking at the waiter. "Order accepted." Smile, a handsome young guy with Italian macho looks. The order was brought in about 15 minutes. "What a beauty!" exclaimed Wanda. "It's even miserable to eat." "Ah," Harvey waved his hand carelessly. "What's there to be sorry about? You haven't seen the dessert yet." The dessert was an airy pink mass decorated with small, shiny flowers and dewdrops. And in the center of the composition was an inscription. For the most beautiful girl in the world. Wanda remembered how her beau had winked at the waiter, and the waiter seemed to understand Harvey half-heartedly. Wanda involuntarily wondered, I wonder how many girls he ordered a personalized dessert for, but immediately decided that she was not interested. After all, now this handsome man with the eyes of a fairy prince invited Wanda, and the rest is unimportant. "Do you like it?" Harvey asked with a smile. "Very much," exhaled the girl. "And it can be eaten?" "You should." "No, really." "Isn't it for beauty?" Wanda asked, poking a dessert spoon into the flowers and dewdrops that looked as if they were alive. "And for beauty, too," replied Harvey, looking fondly at the girl. "She's different," thought the lad. "And that's great. These decorations are quite edible," he assured Wanda. "So eat and enjoy." After lunch, Harvey drove the girl to the dormitory. "Well, how was the ride?" asked her friend. "Katya!" exclaimed Wanda, and spun her around the room. "Put me in my place." With a laugh, said Catherine. "Or, God forbid, Nadirowetzia. I'll be heavier than you." There was a knock at the door. "Yes, yes," Catherine shouted, freeing herself from the embrace of her friend. "What is the noise, and there is no fight?" Curious Christie entered. "Yes, here is one that in joy decided to twirl me." "And what kind of joy?" asked the neighbor. "And she's in love." "Oh, my. Did the rector's son bring you by any chance?" "The rector's son." "Uh-huh," nodded Christie. "The whole dome's on fire." "Well, are you or aren't you?" Harvey didn't say anything about being the rector's son, Wanda said, confused. "So, Harvey," said the sophomore, "our university catcher. Wanda, don't get your ears in a twist. I can't count the number of girls who've had their tears wiped away by the whole dorm. I, by the way, with no exception." "Well, I'll try to become one," Wanda said presumptuously. "Well, go ahead," shrugged her shoulders. "Why am I here? Do you happen to have a curling iron? I left mine at home." "It will be," nodded Catherine. "Oh, thank you," thanked Christie and went out. "Not afraid to burn?" squinted Catherine. "No, I am not afraid." With a smile shook her head Wanda. "And Christie is just jealous that Harvey chose not her." "But he hasn't chosen you either," said her friend. "He hasn't," agreed the student in love and showed her tongue. "But at least I have hope. By the way, where's Veronica?" And Veronica went shopping. "Mum, good thing." "You know, I think I'm going to wear a skirt too. Or no, a dress. I have this great coral one. It'd be really cool with a black leather jacket." "For him?" Catherine winked understandingly. "For myself." Wanda did not stay in debt. He looked fantastic. Harvey appreciated the efforts of Wanda. "My compliments." "Thank you. You look great too." Did you notice that you and I are dressed in the same style? That's right, exclaimed the girl. Harvey, like Wanda, was wearing a black jacket, and under the jacket a black t-shirt with coral-colored lettering, right in line with Wanda's dress. Another similar detail is the tall, black, unisex-style boots. Of course, Harvey's shoes obviously cost a lot more, but the young people looked very harmonious. Imagine how cool you and I would look on the cover of a magazine, Harvey said. Joker. She shook her head. The initiation began with a very interesting concert. Sometimes the students were asked to dance between numbers. Wanda whispered Harvey during a slow dance. How about we run away from everyone? I like that idea, she whispered, and looked around the room for Catherine. And when she saw her friend dancing with some tall, curly-haired brunette, she waved and winked at her. Catherine responded by connecting her thumb and index finger, as if to say that everything was okay. The young people took a long walk. They found a 24-hour commercial kiosk and bought a bottle of champagne, which they immediately drank on a bench. And then there was an amazing night at the apartment Harvey had rented. Oh, girls, I'm so happy, Wanda said to Catherine and Veronica when they returned to the dorm in the morning. They only thought about how they would not have to comfort her with the whole collective of women. For Wanda came a beautiful fairy tale of love. Harvey took the girl to interesting places, gave flowers in armfuls, made surprises. One day she woke up early in the morning, and when she went to the window she was aghast. On the asphalt rose petals were laid out. Wanda, I love you. Harvey introduced her to his friends and invited her to a birthday party. There were also car trips to her native village, which Wanda dreamed of as a college student. After hearing about it, even particularly skeptical university young ladies were forced to bite their tongues. Wanda was the first to be brought to his house by an elite lover and even took her to the village, thus distinguishing her from the rest of the girls. But despite this, the fairy tale didn't last long. Harvey was a narcissist who liked to bathe in the attention of the ladies. So Harvey basically couldn't be content with what he had, and he needed new experiences on a regular basis. When Harvey told Wanda that they were breaking up, the girl at first thought that he was joking. Young people sat in their favorite cafe and nothing foreshadowed such a turn. However, on the face of the beloved was not even a hint of a smile. But why? Wanda asked, amazed, when she finally realized that Harvey was not joking. I'm doing something wrong. Well, why is it wrong? It's very right. I've been very good to you. It's just that the day came when I realized that He hesitated, but Wanda came to the rescue. Do you need something new? Well, why would you do that? Would it make you feel better if I lied to you? He's absolutely right. I think I'll go, said the girl, ostentatiously putting $300 bills on the table. I hope that's enough, she said. Take it, Harvey said. I wouldn't dream of it. I'm poor but proud. What can I say, said Selena from Philosophy. Welcome to the Harvey Dumped Girls Club. A spectacularly busty blonde like Harvey was a third-year student. He'd spotted the beauty at a student initiation when they were both freshmen. Harvey and Selena's affair lasted 2 months. That is, about as long as with Wanda. One day he invited the blonde beauty to a concert. The concert was going late, so Harvey called a cab for her. And when the car arrived, he solemnly announced to Selena about the end of the relationship and, apologizing, sat the girl in the cab. Although the word sat is not quite appropriate here, Selena grinned. It would be more accurate to say pushed. Yes, you have to give Harvey credit. He knows how to break up nicely, Christy said. Flowers, restaurants, special effects. Like, to sweeten the pill. Wanda listened to the girls and sniffed. He didn't do so well with me, she sobbed. Oh, stop crying, the neighbor grumbled. You are still lucky that you, unlike me, did not get pregnant. Catherine sympathetically stroked her friend's shoulder. Veronica brewed soothing tea with mint, and Selena studied her nails. Hearing Christy's last sentence, all 4 of them looked at her curiously. What are you staring at? She grinned. It's not a big deal. Harvey, as soon as he heard about it, gave some money to solve a delicate problem and was gone. What about you? Veronica asked. What about me? Christy shrugged. I solved the problem, and as you can see, I've moved on with my life. If you think about it, I needed it as much as Harvey did. Although, of course, then it was wildly frustrating. After all, our Nikki hadn't considered any other option. Wanda listened to Selena and Christy and secretly envied them. After all, the girls managed to cope with their love, and it seems that she will not soon succeed. It seemed to the girl that her heart broke into millions of pieces. Wanda physically felt how these shards gave her painful sensations. Wanda went to classes, talked to her friends, ate and drank, and from the outside it would seem that she was doing fine. But no one ever suspected that when she was alone with herself, the poor girl gave free rein to tears. When Wanda came home, neither her parents, nor her aunt, nor her brother asked her about Harvey, for which she was very grateful. Otherwise, Wanda would never have been able to stand it and burst into tears. Who said she was going to be all right? That's just it. Having washed in the bath, the girl went outside and gladly breathed in the cold and fresh November air. The mixture of scents of fallen leaves and the first frost suddenly had a calming effect on Wanda, and she suddenly did not want to be sad at all. I'm a pretty and not stupid girl, and for my age of guys enough. I will definitely meet someone who will need only me, and not a new impression. Mummy, I'm hungry, Wanda said right from the doorstep. Bigger and tastier. Have a good steam, daughter, smiled Veronica, relieved to realize that she would not suffer. Now everything will be. Barry from childhood dreamed of becoming a surveyor. Unfortunately, having returned from the army, the guy had no time to apply to the university. It's a shame, but not fatal. But he will have time to better prepare for the entrance exams. In the meantime, Barry will look for a job. Why waste a year of idle time? After all, unlike his friend, he had no opportunity to buy not only a race car, but even an inexpensive cell phone. In other words, Barry was broke. He periodically contracted out for odd jobs. Someone needed to move furniture, remove construction waste, paste wallpaper, and so on. Barry was a handyman, so his services were in demand. But since money was lean, the guy was thinking about a permanent job. Take a rest after the army, his mother said, when he told her about his plans for the next year. We're not starving, and Victoria earns money. But Barry didn't want to hear about it. It was too humiliating to sit on the backs of his parents and older sister. But where would one go without education and connections? Unless it was to unload railroad cars. Anyway, Barry couldn't think of any other options. He bought a newspaper and began to study the vacancies. To Barry's great surprise, there were not a few jobs that didn't require education. Loaders, couriers, watchmen, cleaners, laborers in general, there were enough options. After calling several organizations, Barry settled on a job as a parking lot attendant. This place suited him in every way. The job is not to beat a man lying down. Sit, press the buttons, opening and closing the gates, and take from motorists to pay for the daily stay of their iron horses. And of course, keep the grounds clean and tidy. Barry, a clean and conscientious guy. It was not difficult. The salary, of course, is not the limit of dreams, but for a guy who recently served in the army and was naked as a falcon, quite decent. Loaders, for example, were offered to work for less pay, and that's harder than sitting in the parking lot. And the parking lot was also in the neighborhood of the university. Not what I'm thinking about, Barry snapped at himself. When can I drive up? He asked breathlessly. I'll be at the site until 6 o'clock in the evening. If you can make it by then, no problem. I'm on my way, said the guy, and having quickly gathered himself, went to the interview. The employer turned out to be a cheerful, smiling, and well-fed man who apparently liked to eat well and did not consider it necessary to hide it. Did you call me? The fat man asked with a smile. Yes, I did, Barry answered. Uh-huh, the boss said approvingly, looking at the boy. What's your name? My name is Barry. Well, I'm Oliver. Well, and okay, smiled Oliver, which suddenly became like Winnie the Pooh. Call me Oliver. You can call me Oliver. I'm not proud. So, quick question. When can you start? Anytime. Listen, I like you more and more, exclaimed the employer. Such zeal for work I love. No money, sighed the guy. I've just come from the army, and there's a louse in my pocket. I know the feeling, Oliver nodded. It's unpleasant, but it's fixable. Here's what we'll do. Tonight or tomorrow, you'll see what's going on. The guys will tell you everything, and the day after tomorrow, we'll put you on shift. Is that okay? Yeah, sure. Come on, I'll show you the job, and Tony can explain it to you. Tony turned out to be a big guy about 45 years old. The man was frying potatoes and onions, which gave off a very appetizing odor. Okay, Tony, the boss said in a grandfatherly voice. There's a new addition to your regiment. You. Come on, tell him everything and of course show him. Well, I'm going home. Can I work? Barry asked after Tony had explained the job to him. Why shouldn't it be? He's not stingy. We pick up the paycheck after every shift. The main thing is not to screw up. No, I need the money. I'd like to get by until the school year. Then I'll enroll. It's a necessary thing, nodded his partner. I got an education too, a college degree. Why are you here? Barry asked in surprise. It's like this, Tony sighed. I did time. But for what? The guy was surprised, but when he realized he'd said the wrong thing, he added, Sorry. It's none of my business. The case is passed. The watchman waved his hand, distribution and possession. He was an idiot, in a word. Well, you can never be safe from jail or prison. To be honest, Barry had never really agreed with that saying. Not when it came to prison, anyway. An honest and decent guy was convinced that if a man lives by his conscience and the laws are not an empty sound for him, he will never go to prison. Barry stood at the bus stop and made Napoleonic plans for his life. Suddenly the guy's heart began to beat alarmingly, and the reason for it was she. The girl was about to cross the road. She stood with her back to him, but Barry would have recognized that silky blonde hair with effectively highlighted strands from 1,000. Wanda, hello, he smiled. The girl furrowed her brow, obviously trying to remember who he was. Ah, hello, she nodded with a smile. I think your name is Barry, right? That's right, he replied, flattered that such a beautiful woman had not forgotten about his humble person. But that wasn't all. What are you doing here? Barry was embarrassed to admit that he had come to get a job as a watchman, but what could he do? All jobs are good. You can take your pick. Idleness. That's what's really shameful. And Barry was telling the truth. That's great, Wanda said. You're doing great. I'm that good. I'll get a geography degree next year. Then I'll be good. But for now, let's be happy with what we have. You want to go to Joe faculty? The girl exclaimed. Then you'll be really good. I have talked a lot with the guys from the Joe faculty, and they tell a lot of interesting things. But now you are also good. I've always respected students who work part-time. I'm not a student yet. Barry smiled again. Does that make a difference? Wanda laughed. I guess not, Barry answered after a little thought. And then he suddenly asked, Wanda, aren't you in a hurry? Honestly, I am, she replied with sincere regret. The girls in the dorm are waiting for me with groceries. Why don't you help me carry it in? Barry terribly did not want to part with this amazing girl. And it seemed that Wanda also enjoyed talking to him. What's there to help? She grinned. One single package. So what? Barry decided to be persistent. And I'm a gentleman. All right, you got it, Wanda laughed. What's to hide? The attention of this nice guy was pleasant to her. Except, well, what's that got to do with it? Whispered Common Sense. What's he done to you? Barry helped Wanda carry the bag to the watch. They won't let her go any farther. She waved her hands. Too bad, the boy thought. Well, thank you, the girl smiled, looking him in the eye. Wanda, said Barry hesitantly. Of course I understand everything. But can I call you, well, I mean, here, Barry? Wanda didn't want to offend him, but objectively, she didn't see any point in these calls. So we chatted. So he helped her carry a bag. That was enough. I see. No, it's not, Barry said in such a low voice that she felt sorry for him. Why not? Got something to write on? He patted his pockets and waved his hands expressively. I see, Wanda grinned and turned to the janitor. Aunt Maria, do you have a paper with a pen? And how could I? Smiled at the woman and, having put an unfinished sock on the table, took out a piece of paper from the notebook and pulled Barry. Here you go, young man. Well, you've got to be kidding, Veronica exclaimed indignantly. You're the only one I'd send for death. Did you buy bananas? Catherine asked demandingly. Bought, assured Wanda, pulling out a bunch of large yellow bananas. Here they are, my darlings. Rubbed her hands friend. Catherine was dating a biology student, John, who fed her clever things like the fact that bananas are rich in potassium and improve brain function. Winter session was around the corner, and Catherine was trying hard to get smarter. That is, Lemons absorbed bananas. And what took so long? Asked Veronica. He was big. Absent-mindedly replied Wanda, thinking about his own. Stretched Catherine with a full mouth and chewed the fragrant sweet pulp, said, It seems to me it is not in the queue. Admitted he met. There was no need to specify who it was about. Since the day Harvey and Wanda had broken up, the girls had never mentioned his name in conversation. Just pronouns. No, not him. Wanda shook her head. His friend Barry, the same narcissist and playboy. Catherine suggested. Not at all. Maybe I'm wrong, but Barry is just a simple guy, without any cockroaches in his head. He is very handsome, but I think does not attach any importance to it. Wow, Veronica marveled. Where do they make them? I happen to know, smiled Wanda. He came out of the army in the summer, and as far as I understand, he didn't have time to apply for admission. He's dreaming about geophysics. And today he went to get a job as a parking lot attendant in front of the second building of the university. Romantic, nothing to say, hummed Catherine, and noticing the look of her friend, waved her hand. I'm serious. So go ahead, friend. Consider it my blessing. What? Squinted Wanda. Why on earth would you want to bless me? I understand Veronica is interested in him. There is a little, Veronica admitted, but I don't think I have a chance. Why is that? Intuition. So I'm joining Catherine. Girls, but I'm not ready for a new relationship, squeaked Wanda. And when will you? I wonder when you will be ready, sarcastically asked Catherine, after the defense of the diploma. Well, no, of course, but what? Oh, I do not know. Somehow it's all like snow on my head. Oh, come on. At our age, you've got to turn guys' heads to make a noise. So winked her friend. It's the wedge that drives out the wedge, eh? Meanwhile, the subject of the 403rd room was taking a bath and daydreaming. Barry remembered the first time he saw Wanda at Harvey's birthday party and thought, that's the kind of girl I'd like to see as the mother of my children. All evening he sadly watched Harvey wooing the girl and from time to time gently embracing her, kissing her on the temple. Wanda smiled embarrassedly, and it suited her well. Once Harvey told him about an acquaintance with some supposedly special girl whom he lost sight of and then met. Barry listened to his friend, but in the end decided that it was about some stunning, perhaps exotic beauty who otherwise did not differ from his previous passions. But when he saw Wanda, Barry realized he was wrong and was surprised. Without a doubt, the girl was very beautiful, however. Not only this distinguished her from Harvey's former girlfriends. Wanda was an intelligent, sociable, judicious girl with a wonderful sense of humor and soft, pleasant manners. Yes, that's something Barry didn't expect from Harvey. But maybe his friend just grew up, wanted a serious relationship, and realized that only with such a girl can build it. In that case, Barry was happy for his friend, and not happy. After all, 15 minutes after Harvey had introduced them to each other, Barry realized that he had fallen in love with Wanda up to his ears. He remembered the story of Nancy and grinned. Actually, he had a chance to get even with his friend. But Barry wouldn't be Barry if he took that opportunity. Besides, it's kindergarten. How are things with Wanda? Barry asked 2 months later. Oh, nothing, Harvey waved his hand. What do you mean? That's what I mean. We broke up. Why? Trying to sound calm, Barry asked. Who knows? Maybe it was just that our relationship had outlived its usefulness. Or there was no love. There was no love in the first place. Not on my part, anyway. Too bad, he sighed. Good girl. That's true. Harvey nodded. Good, beautiful, but probably not for me. I'd like something simpler. Well, you like her, don't you? Well, I like her, my friend didn't hold back. So what's the problem? Take it. Take it, he grinned unhappily. Wanda is not a thing. Why are you picking on words? I was just speaking figuratively. But seriously, you and Wanda are very suitable for each other. No, seriously. And if it really works out, I'll be happy for you. Just don't forget to invite her to the wedding. Sharing the skin of an unkilled bear amused Barry, but in his heart there was hope. What if he didn't tell his friend about his meeting with Wanda? But he did tell his sister. You know, Barry, Victoria said seriously, I think that girl is better suited for you, but not for Harvey. Victoria was also at the birthday party and saw Wanda, so I highly recommend you take a chance. If you don't, you're going to be biting your elbows. The exam in higher mathematics was coming up, and Wanda had already repeated one ticket for the second time. Catherine had gone to the movies with her biologist, and Veronica was due back from the store any minute. There was a knock at the door. It was open, Wanda answered. You're Wanda, aren't you? The girl who looked in clarified. Yes, she nodded. Someone's here to see you. Wondering who it could be, the girl threw on a sweater and went downstairs. Hi. Barry smiled and handed her a box of chocolates and a pretty bouquet of chrysanthemums. Sorry I didn't call. Oh, that's okay. Thank you, very nice, Wanda mouthed awkwardly. You don't like it? He asked excitedly. I liked it all very much, Wanda said with a smile. Well, how about we, take a walk? We could go to a cafe. Or a movie. They're showing Titanic right now. They say it's cool. Oh, I don't know. I've got exam coming up, so of course she agrees. Veronica returned from the store and, dragging her classmate with her, promised, Wanda will be out in 15 minutes. What are you doing? She whispered indignantly. Nothing. Enough already sour. You have good friends, smiled Barry, when they were already sitting in a cafe near the university. I can't complain, she smiled. Wanda liked the simplicity and the homey atmosphere. Floral curtains, ceramic teapots on the tables, and cloth lampshades with fringe created a real homey coziness that was missing in the flashy places Harvey took her to. Enough of him, thought Wanda resolutely. There is no Harvey in my life anymore but this wonderful guy Barry. From that day on, they began dating. Unlike his narcissistic friend, Barry was sensitive and caring. Why no hat? He asked Wanda sternly. It's 0 degrees outside, the girl replied cheerfully, touched by his concern for her health. So what? It only seems it is not cold, and then hop and meningitis. And Barry grabbed his beloved by the hand and dragged her towards the bazaar. Where are we going? Laughing, Wanda asked. Where are we going? To buy you a new hat. I have a hat. Where does it say that a girl should have only one hat, especially one so beautiful? I must say Harvey was really happy for them. However, they rarely saw each other. Wanda's ex-boyfriend lived a bright and stormy life, playboy partying, expensive restaurants, events for the chosen ones, and of course bright, gorgeous girls. Well, Barry and Wanda enjoyed their quiet love, and they were very happy together. The next school year, Barry enrolled in geography. He did not want to lose a responsible, and most importantly, non-drinking worker. But he realized that it is not a good idea for a smart guy to languish in the Watchman. He should get an education. And what about part-time work? Oliver asked. You know, on weekends or vacations if someone gets sick or drinks. Well, why not? Smiled Barry. Money is always good. Now Barry and Wanda saw each other more often. Every break they went to the university cafeteria, and the barmaid always smiled at this beautiful, loving couple. Sometimes Harvey joined them with another victim of passion, as the lovers unkindly called his girlfriend. Time passed, and Barry and Wanda's love only grew stronger. All the friends already imagined how they would celebrate their wedding. But everything collapsed, literally, in an instant. In the third year, of future geographers in the framework of elective went to the town to study the landscape. A whole month will not see each other, sighed Wanda. Long. Well, is that a problem in the age of cell phones? Barry smiled and for good measure took out of his pocket a tiny silver cell phone with a round display so we could call each other at any time without fear of a big long-distance bill. Yeah, but I'd like to see you. Me too. But school is demanding, he said. It wasn't just the upcoming separation from her lover. Wanda was tormented by a bad feeling with which she could not do anything. Everything will be fine, soothed Barry. When the girl told him about her premonition, we are just sad to part. That's your soul and not in place. Yes, I guess so, agreed Wanda. But she was not convinced by her lover's words. The town wasn't the shithole the third-year students had imagined it to be. There were quite a few good stores, cafes, and discos. That's where the students went on Fridays and Saturdays. Barry and two other guys came out of the club and saw a young girl being grabbed by two big, scrawny-looking men with obviously bad intentions. Help! She cried out, and Barry decided to intervene. Hey, boys! Let the girl go, he shouted. Barry, what do you want? Said Tim. It's their business. Hey, you, go where you're going, one of the kids said threateningly. Did you hear what your comrade told you? This is our business. But Barry had already kicked one of the boys in the forehead with all his might, and he clutched his head, allowing the girl to escape. The other, realizing that his opponent was not a weak one, rushed to his friend's aid. The scumbag tried to kick Barry under the breath, but he dodged and hooked his opponent. That's it, you've had it, roared the first one, pulling a knife out of his pocket. But Barry had practiced sports for a reason, and the army hadn't gone to waste. The guy deftly snatched the cold weapon from the scumbag and threw it aside, then pushed the bully as hard as he could. What did you do? His buddy whispered in horror. You killed my buddy. Well, I will you now. And then they heard sirens. The rest was like a bad dream. Ambulance, handcuffs, interrogation, pre-trial detention center, unshaven faces of the cellmates. Barry suddenly remembered the words of Tony, a colleague from the parking lot. You can never be safe from jail or prison. How arrogant he was, though. As it turned out, the scumbag was alive, but in critical condition, and on the fourth day he died, without regaining consciousness, and Barry was facing a sentence for causing death by negligence. Upon learning of the incident, Harvey immediately went to visit his friend. By then he had already graduated from university and was working at an up-and-coming law firm. All right, buddy, he said to Barry. I'll do everything I can and can't, of course. But your situation, to put it bluntly, I understand. He does, Harvey grinned dryly. I don't. Your friends testified that the girl got away. So why the hell did you start fighting with them? Because they kept coming at me. A lawyer friend said thoughtfully. Well, in principle, it makes a difference. but I don't promise miracles. After all, there is no man. What kind of friends do you have that they didn't even intervene? Barry just waved his hand. All right. Well, that's just a story. Our job now is to get a lenient sentence. You've never been convicted before, and, well, you stood up for yourself. Plus self-defense. I think you're looking at a suspended sentence, or at least probation. Well, I gotta go. Hang in there. Harvey? Yes? Can I ask you a favor? Anything. Don't say anything to Wanda. But why? I think she would support you. Why should such a pure girl want a man with such a stigma? Barry grinned sadly. Barry, don't be silly, Harvey exclaimed. I don't think you'll get a big sentence, and I think you can handle it together. Even assuming the worst, she'll follow you and get a job in the zone scrubbing floors. That's what I'm afraid of. Who am I to ruin her life? Why should a young, beautiful girl sacrifice herself for some convict? Because Wanda loves you, and it wouldn't be a sacrifice for her. And what kind of convict are you? For Wanda, you're not some. You're her favorite. At least let her decide what's best for her. Still, I'd like to ask you not to say anything to Wanda. Barry stood his ground. I'll tell her I've met someone else, and, well, all right, I won't tell her anything. But then there's your classmates. What about them? Shit, I didn't think, he said with annoyance. Well, with them I'll somehow negotiate. Just don't say anything. Okay, but you're wrong. Harvey didn't cheat. He did do everything he could and couldn't. And in the end, he managed to get his friend a year and a half in juvie. Well, it could have been worse. Maybe we'd better tell Wanda. Harvey made one last attempt to convince his friend. Harvey, I've made up my mind. I'll disappear from her life like I never existed. Barry hasn't been in touch, Wanda told the girls. Well, who knows, suggested Catherine. Maybe something with the connection. A few days. No, girls, whatever you say to me, but I do not like it all. I feel something will happen. Oh, here we go. What are you yelling like a grandmother? Quiet. What's the matter? Wanda's awake. Isn't that your phone ringing? It's mine, she exclaimed and fumbled for her cell phone, which was in her coat pocket. It's Barry. You were afraid, said Veronica, and there was relief in her voice. The girls, too, had feared that something very terrible might have happened to Barry. Barry at last, shouted Wanda happily. I thought something had happened to you. What? I see what you mean. What is it? Frightened asked Catherine. Friend froze in one pose, looking at one point. Her face turned white as chalk in a flash. Yes, what happened? Questioned Catherine. But Wanda seemed to hear nothing. Maybe you want some water, Veronica offered her a little hesitantly. No, girls. Finally, Wanda woke up from her thoughts. I don't need anything. It's just, Barry said he's with someone else. They met in that town, and now Barry's staying there. I'm so unlucky. A week later, Wanda realized she was pregnant. Well, lucky, so lucky. Catherine shook her head. What are you going to do? Give birth, resolutely answered the girl. The baby is not to blame that his father fell in love with another. Wanda promptly issued a leave of absence and went home. When she told her family about everything, they were shocked. Wow, Veronica said. And I thought Barry loved you. I remember when you were hurting for Harvey, even though you didn't show it. And he doesn't know anything. Harry, the girl's father asked. No, Wanda shook her head. Well, he should. I think he should be held responsible. Responsibility, repeated the daughter bitterly. Well, suppose Barry is a responsible man. I don't think he'd shirk, but I don't want to humiliate myself and get in his face. He's in love with someone else, so be it. The heart can't tell him what to do, but he has the right to know. Sergei, leave the girl alone, my wife intervened. Can't you see that it's not easy for her? They'll sort it out themselves. Yeah, do what you want, waved the head of the family and went to watch TVE. The spring was warm, and Wanda enjoyed her walks. She loved to watch the ice flow. Now the girl stood and thoughtfully watched the floating ice floes. The idyll was broken by the trill of a cell phone. Ekaterina called. "Hello, friend," cheerfully said her friend. "Hello," joyfully exclaimed Wanda. She was always happy to hear from Ekaterina and the rest of her university friends. "How are you? How's the baby?" "Life is going on. The baby is already kicking," bragged the future mother. "Well and great," enthusiastically said Catherine. "And I, Wanda, call you about his father." "Did he decide to return?" ironically thought Wanda. "No, I did not find myself on the garbage dump. And I'm not going to tie with a child. Catherine, I'm not interested. Don't be sorry. But it is really very important. Did not give up, friend. For me now, the most important thing is to give birth to a healthy child. Everything else does not matter. Maybe you should." "No," rudely interrupted Wanda. "And let's agree to never bring up this subject." "All right, if you say so." "Tom was born healthy and strong." 3,800, said the midwife approvingly. "A real big boy." The boy grew like a rosy-cheeked puppet and delighted his family. "My love," whispered Wanda, leaning over her son's crib. "Mommy's joy." The young mother forbade herself to think about Barry, but looking at Tom, it was not so easy. The son grew by leaps and bounds, and every day he became more and more like his father. 10 years passed. "Wanda, sign it." "Wanda," the supplier called and said he'd only talk to you. "Wanda, I have a question for you." Every day. By the end of the workday, she was beginning to quietly hate her own name, and unlike many businesswomen, was not ready to sit at work until late in the evening. No, no, and no again. The most wonderful man in the world was waiting for her at home, albeit a small one. But with the big one somehow did not work out. Wanda graduated from the university and went to work in a small company producing windows and doors. There she met the manager, Austin, and even had the folly to jump out to marry him. But it didn't work out. Husband busy with computer shooters, no, this is not her option. Common children Kira did not want, and Wanda did not burn desire. As a result, the couple lived 2.5 years and divorced without noise and dust. That was the end of attempts to arrange a personal life. The firm was gaining momentum, and with it the career growth of Wanda. Before she knew it, the young woman was sitting in the chair of the director of the firm. "What do we have on the loader?" "Yes, you could say nothing." Julia waved her hands. "There was one call this morning, and that was it. Not a single call in 2 weeks." Wanda was surprised. "Well, yes," confirmed the employee. "Then, Julia, here's what we'll do. Call him back and let him come, and then we'll sort it out. It's not a matter of managers or drivers unloading the goods. It's respectful. Well, do it." "Okay, Wanda. I'm out of here. I'll be in touch if you need me. Goodbye. Have a good day." Firm ran like a well-oiled machine. The trucker had been with the firm for 2 weeks, and Wanda had never seen him before. Just the day after talking to Julia, she left on a business trip. I should ask him out, get to know him, Wanda thought, as she drove up to the office in her Mazda. When she got to the elevator, a tall, broad-shouldered man with short blonde hair, dressed in jeans and a plaid shirt, stood next to her. Just like a cowboy, Wanda thought. All that's missing is a hat and boots. The elevator pulled up, and the man gestured for her to get on. "Which one?" the stranger asked politely. "Barry?" Wanda exhaled in amazement. "Do I know you?" he asked confusedly. And then the lights went out. The elevator automatically locked itself. Wanda's thoughts were confused. It was no surprise that Barry didn't recognize her. The black bob, the scarlet lipstick, the business suit. In short, there was nothing of the old Wanda in her. But somehow she was offended. If he had loved her, he would have recognized her as a witch. "Yes, but he left you," a nasty voice whispered treacherously. "So what kind of love are we talking about?" "That's true, but it's a shame, that's all." Oh, well, first we have to solve the problem. Wanda took out her smartphone and started dialing the emergency number. Do I know you? She heard a voice. Is that all you're interested in right now? She asked sharply. It wouldn't hurt to call the appropriate service first. Yes, of course, Barry sniggered. Excuse me. Wanda got through to the emergency service and the operator, after listening to her, said, Hold on. What? She exclaimed, second coming. Or the flood? And how long should we wait? The crew will arrive within 40 minutes, the voice replied nonchalantly. What? 40 minutes? What if I was dying? Wait, repeated the operator and disconnected. Crazy! Exclaimed Wanda and turned to Barry. Do you really not remember me? No, he answered confused. Should I? Wanda suddenly wanted to torture her ex-boyfriend a little. At the same time, Wanda wondered if she should tell him about Tom. Later, she decided. Yeah, well, you don't really have to, the supervisor replied. But still, how's Harvey doing? Harvey? He's fine. Why? So you're one of his admirers. Barry grinned. Well, you could say that. He's grinning too. I see. What does that make sense? No, nothing. Tell me who your friend is and I'll tell you who you are, Wanda said cryptically. What's it got to do with me? Barry snorted. How to say, does the name Wanda mean anything to you? Wanda. That's interesting, she thought. Barry had said her name with such tenderness that under other circumstances Wanda would have thought he still loved her. What's this got to do with Wanda? Do you know her? Barry asked, and she laughed. I know her, Barry. I know her, Wanda replied mockingly. And you work for her now. Really? Where is she? At this point, Barry's voice was so silly she couldn't stand it, and laughed. Too bad Wanda couldn't see his face. There must have been something to look at, and Wanda is standing in front of you right now. She laughed. She laughed. Yes, it's been a long time since I've laughed like that. Are you Wanda? Barry asked incredulously. We were on a first-name basis. Wanda smiled, and then she added seriously, and then you left me. You fell in love with someone else. Barry finally realized that before him was really his youthful love. But why youthful? Because Barry had never gotten over her. He also realized that he wanted to be with Wanda. But would she want to be with him? After all, now Wanda is a high-flying bird, and he came to work as a loader in her company. And then Wanda's probably married to some rich, puffed-up turkey. Well, that's the past, sighed the boss. But what brings you here? Work. Work? Barry nodded. I've been working as a longshoreman for a week now. So you must be our new loader. Oh, yeah. You must have a college degree, Wanda said, puzzled. Ah, he waved his hand and told her everything as it was. I was expelled from the university. I couldn't get reinstated. After the zone, I worked on shift. Then this shop was closed, and now here. Fool, said Wanda, and ruffled his hair affectionately. Did you really think I'd turn my back on you? You think so well of me. I would have ruined your life too, wouldn't I? What happened to for better or for worse in sickness and in health? The Bible is one thing, life is another, Barry said philosophically. If there is no love, then of course, the young woman remarked, but there was love. And there is, he whispered, taking Wanda in his arms and kissing her. I'm sorry, Barry realized. I don't think your husband. At the word husband, Wanda instantly associated it with Austin. She wrinkled her nose like a toothache and said, I don't have a husband. Well, I had one, but we've been divorced for a long time. I see. Nothing you do not understand, grinned Wanda and snuggled up to Barry, whispered, Kiss me again. It feels so good. They kissed again and lost track of time. When the lovers finally opened their eyes, they were blinded by an unusually bright light, and the elevator door opened smoothly. Ahem, said the emergency worker. Welcome to freedom, smiled another employee. Thank you very much. Wanda smiled back and took Barry's hand and led him toward the stairs. Judging by the stunned looks of the emergency guys, the guys saw the loader and the supervisor kissing, but Wanda didn't care. She's loved, and that's what counts. Wanda and Barry went into her office. "Would you like some coffee?" she suggested. "Or juice?" "I have orange and mango." "I'd have an orange juice. It's too dry in my mouth for coffee." "Yes, there is," agreed the lady of the house, pulling a carafe of fresh juice from the refrigerator. Barry greedily drank a glass of juice, and Wanda said, "From this day forward, you are no longer working as a longshoreman. I'm not good enough for you. Let's just say you don't suit me as a longshoreman. I'll find you another job, like a manager. Well, of course, you'll have to go through training." "Aya? Manager?" Barry asked cheerfully. "Can't I do better as a loader?" "No, you can't," Wanda replied firmly. "It's not right for a man who can do more than that to work as a loader, especially when it comes to my favorite person, and the father of my child." I have a child." "We do, Barry. Our son is 10 years old." "That's crazy. I'm the father of—" "No, I can't believe it. Why didn't you tell me about this?" Why? Because I found out about the pregnancy after you told me we were breaking up and looking for me to announce impending parenthood. You know, that's not really my thing." "Yes, I know." Barry sighed and slapped himself on the forehead. "What an idiot. Harvey was right. He tried to convince me to tell you what had happened to me, and I was just as stubborn as a lamb." "Well, at least Mr. Harvey was smarter than you in some respects." Wanda smiled. "Well, at least in some ways," with a grin replied Barry. "He, by the way, a successful criminal lawyer, a model family man, father of 2 charming children. He's not the same old windbag. Well, I'm happy for him. I hope you'll live up to my expectations, too. I'll do my best. A year from now—" "I'm scared," Wanda confessed to her husband, now a senior manager on the way to the hospital. "Don't worry, I'm with you," Barry encouraged her. "Daddy, are you with us or not?" smiled the midwife. "Or have you changed your mind?" "Absolutely not," assured the father without 5 minutes twice. Barry held Wanda's hand, looked into her eyes, and it was a delightful sensation. When the young father was shown his newborn daughter, he wept. To think that before his eyes the world had become richer for another life. "Thank you for your daughter," Barry said, looking lovingly at his wife. "I love you," Wanda said with feeling. "Thank you very much, too." He turned to the midwife, went out and dialed Harvey's number. "Hi, Harvey," he greeted his friend. "We're off, so it's two now." "Well, congratulations, Daddy. Enjoy fatherhood. As an experienced man, I'll tell you, it's awesome. I'm sure you'll never be bored." "I suspect you're telling the truth," laughed Barry, even though he's a lawyer. "Exactly," my friend confirmed. "And I have a trial in 5 minutes, so I'll call you later." "I suggest we celebrate this case." "I'm all for it." Wanda listened with a smile as her husband bragged to his friend and thought, "I'm the luckiest woman in the world." A week later, Wanda and little Leslie were greeted by a delegation of Veronica, Harry, Aunt Aurora and her new and apparently last husband, Max, brother Evan, Victoria and her husband, Mickey, and daughter Anna and her husband, Mickey, and daughter Anna, and Barry's parents. Well, and of course Tom, who lived all 9 months waiting for a baby brother. But even the fact that a baby sister had been born didn't spoil the little boy's good mood. "I will protect Leslie like a big brother," he said. "Well done," exclaimed the happy father, handing the midwife a luxurious basket of flowers and a bottle of expensive champagne. "And this is for you. Come to us again," smiled the woman. "I will," promised Barry. "God willing, we'll come back many times." Wanda smiled. The only thing the happy wife and mother of 2 regretted was that they had lost 10 whole years. Don't do that. Wanda ordered herself, "We have a whole life ahead of us, and we will live it in such a way that there will be no room for regrets. Anyone who knew her before would hardly recognize at first glance in a stately businesswoman with a glossy black bob to her shoulders, a beautiful student with long blonde hair, if he recognized her at all. But not only the appearance of Wanda has undergone changes, her character had also changed. Wanda had grown an impenetrable shell and long, sharp claws. Do not get in will kill, so nicknamed her subordinates, and in general, were right. Wanda did not let anyone into her soul, and the one who had the audacity to try to do so awaited an angry rebuke. And only a narrow circle of people, and these were only the closest people to the lady boss, knew how fragile and vulnerable she was at heart. Wanda entered the manager's office and asked,